So in this video I want to talk about Admiral Holdo's plan in The Last Jedi, mainly its execution and why I think she takes unnecessary abuse for how she went about her plan. Now before I start this video, I want to get a few things clear, as I know a lot of Star Wars fans will just be negative about this video without really watching it or taking the points on board. Whilst I think Admiral Holdo's plan was executed fairly well, it is definitely not without fault and she 100% could have done things a little differently. But on the whole, I understand the decisions she made and I'm here to support and defend her. Also I would like to add, I think the role of Admiral Holdo would have been far better suited to Admiral Akbar, a character already introduced in the Star Wars universe, with huge fan support who never got their big moment except for, well, you know what.
It's a trap!
But Akbar would have been easier to use compared to introducing a new character who we the audience have no relationship with, nor do we care or sympathise with their decisions. Using Akbar over Holdo would have also worked far better when it came down to the character's sacrifice at the end of The Last Jedi. A character who has lived long in the memories of many fans, ultimately sacrificing themselves in order for the rebellion to live on. It just works better with a character who is already part of the Star Wars universe, instead of introducing a character into a film which is already pretty cluttered. Akbar's sacrifice definitely hits harder compared to Holdo's. But enough about these defensive points, let's talk about Holdo's plan and why fans are angry. So basically, Holdo takes command of the rebellion, which at this moment is pretty light on the ground in numbers. After Poe Dameron's attack on the First Order, which led to a huge amount of casualties, this actually leads the First Order to chase the rebellion, leading to a second attack which almost costs the life of General Leia. Admiral Holdo takes charge of the rebellion and leaves Poe completely out of the know on what the actual plan is. And to Poe and the audience, it appears Holdo is actually out of her depth, is a coward, and basically is just running from the First Order for as long as possible until they ultimately catch the rebellion. This leads to Poe starting a mutiny against Holdo due to not keeping the outside crew in the know of her plan. This is where fans have a problem, is that Holdo doesn't actually explain her plan to Poe, which leads to Poe's mistrust of Holdo and ultimately deciding to start a mutiny against her because he thinks there is no plan and she is dooming the rebellion. So I am going to try and defend Admiral Holdo and why she had no reason to tell Poe what her plans were. So let's jump in.
The chain of command is clear as to who should take her place. Vice Admiral Holdo of the cruiser Ninka. Thank you, Commander.
Firstly, let's talk about rank. Admiral Holdo is the leader of the rebellion, or next in line after General Leia. So she is an incredibly high ranking officer within the rebellion. Poe is simply a pilot. His rank isn't actually revealed, but we can assume he is probably a group captain, as he does command squadrons in battle. The point I'm trying to make is Holdo outranks Poe Dameron. Poe is no tactician, he is merely a soldier. He leads on the battlefield, but he does not lead the battle strategy. A soldier should listen to their leader and shouldn't be against them due to their indifferences to their ideas. That is not to mean they shouldn't question their leader's actions, but they should accept the ones above them know better than them. There is no need for Holdo, a higher ranking officer, should be divulging to all the lower ranking captains what the plan is. Holdo has her own advisors who she speaks directly with and are people of similar rank to herself. Poe is very low down compared to Holdo, and she doesn't need to tell Poe the actual plan ahead. Poe simply needs to listen to orders and carry them out for Holdo. Secondly, I want to talk about story point of views.
You're impulsive, dangerous, and the last thing we need right now. So stick to your post and follow my orders.
Secondly, I want to talk about story point of views. The Last Jedi story with Holdo and Poe is told mostly from Poe's point of view. We see everything play through his eyes. We see him become frustrated through Holdo's lack of communication and feel that frustration. The only argument posed to the audience is that Holdo has no plan and is a coward, and Poe is the only one who wants to do something about it, to be brave and take the fight to the First Order. It's not a great plan, but I believed Poe's side for most of the film, because this is the only argument presented to the audience. The key to a good argument is posing two sides of it and allowing someone to make up their own mind based on the evidence given. This is something The Last Jedi let itself down in. The Last Jedi probably needed a couple of scenes which showed Holdo's point of view. We get an understanding she is dismissive of Poe due to his earlier antics, being a brash flyboy with little consideration to the consequences, but the film probably needed to present a little bit more of Holdo's side. But then again, Poe is a main character of this new trilogy, and we need to understand his story far more than Holdo's, a character who is only going to be in this film. Thirdly, I think audiences forget that Poe made a fairly dreadful decision earlier in the film due to his actions against the rebellion.
You're demoted.
Whoa, wait, we took down a dreadnought.
At what cost?
You start an attack, you follow it through.
Poe, get your head out of your cockpit. There are things that you cannot solve by jumping in an X-Wing and blowing something up. I need you to learn that.
Thirdly, I think audiences forget that Poe made a fairly dreadful decision earlier in the film. Due to his actions, the rebellion lost most of their army, and by the end of the film are still feeling that effect. Holdo also nearly lost her mentor in General Leia, so it's fair to say she is reacting with her emotions in not telling Poe her plan. I mean, why should she? Poe has cost the lives of thousands of soldiers, and more importantly, in Holdo's eyes, one of the closest people to her in Leia. Poe has proven to Holdo that he is incapable of listening to orders. If he wasn't willing to listen to Leia earlier in the film, which was the smart option to retreat, why would he listen to Holdo, someone who has just taken the helm of command? Basically, in Holdo's mind, Poe wouldn't listen to the last person in command who he had respect for and was ordering a retreat. Why would Poe listen now to someone he has no respect for telling him the same order? Holdo probably sees the better idea is to just simply tell him nothing. It's a hard choice to make due to his brash attitude, and she made her judgment call, which you can argue whether it was right or wrong. Lastly, the theme of this film is failure. I know a lot of people don't like this reason, but I do think it is valid. Personally, I feel Holdo didn't handle things effectively and definitely made some bad calls. Being a standoffish character, not looking to connect with her crew, she definitely came across pretty terribly to her crew. But she did have a massive task on her hands and was probably feeling the pressure to save the remaining rebellion, though there was definitely failures by her. But the biggest failures was Poe's. He realised how brash he was with his decision making by the end of The Last Jedi. He came to the realisation that you don't always have to stand and fight. Sometimes taking a step back to assess a situation is the far better decision. That actually listening to other people helps. People who have a wiser head on their shoulders who can help offering different opinions. The theme of failure follows here. Holdo and Poe definitely had failures and learn about their characters and how they handle things. Whilst Holdo lost her life, Poe knows now he needs to make changes to his character, and that actually whilst he might be a fantastic pilot, he isn't a leader yet. Know how much he might think he is, and that he now needs to step up for Star Wars Episode 9. This story definitely made Poe realise that he is not as high up as he thinks, and that there was no reason for him to be questioning people above him, and that actually now it's time for him to step up and command respect. These are my thoughts on the Holdo-Poe dynamic and why I think Holdo needs a little defending, and that her plan wasn't as bad as people say, and that she shouldn't have just told Poe what the actual plan was. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.